The morning started like every other since Daniel's death. Silence, coffee gone cold, and the wind sliding across the empty pasture. Evelyn Hart stood at her kitchen window, watching 2 trucks crawl along the dirt road that cut through her 40 acres. Men in orange vests climbed out, unfolding tripods and metal rods that glinted in the sun. She thought at first they were county workers checking the lines. But when one of them drove a stake into the soft earth right beneath her fence, something tightened in her chest. She stepped outside, her boots crunching against the frost. "Morning," she called. "You boys lost." The taller one, with a clipboard and an impatient smirk, didn't look up. "Survey work, ma'am." "You're fine." "Survey work for who?" He didn't answer, just scribbled something and moved down the fence. Evelyn's pulse thudded. Daniel used to warn her about this. Paperwork wolves, he called them. "They don't take land with guns anymore," he'd said. "They take it with signatures." By noon, the markers had multiplied like weeds. Bright ribbons fluttered across her field. Days later came the low hum of machinery, then the hollow pounding of posts. A fence, new, metal, wrong, began cutting through her pasture like a scar. She drove to the county clerk's office, clutching her deed. The clerk, a young woman with pink nails and a tired smile, tapped her keyboard and shook her head. "Our records show the boundary ends right here." She pointed to a map where Evelyn's property had shrunk by a dozen acres. "That's not possible," Evelyn whispered. "My husband measured it himself." "I'm sure it's just old data, ma'am. Happens all the time." That night, unable to sleep, Evelyn walked the fence with a flashlight. The machines were gone, the ground raw and cold. Then the beam caught something, a small wooden marker half buried in dirt. She brushed the mud away. Her breath caught. Carved into the wood were numbers she knew by heart. Lot 218, E. Hart. Evelyn straightened slowly, the wind pulling at her coat. Somewhere beyond the fence, a hammer struck once, then stopped. She didn't sleep at all after that. By spring, the sound of construction had become part of the wind, steady, invasive, impossible to ignore. Evelyn stopped walking to the fence altogether. It wasn't hers anymore, not in the eyes of the world. But when a letter arrived bearing the embossed seal of Oak Hollow Estates Homeowners Association, she felt her throat tighten. The meeting was to discuss a property dispute. Marla Givens greeted her with a handshake that felt like a performance. The woman was everything Evelyn wasn't: polished, perfumed, wrapped in pastel silk. Her nails, the color of champagne, never stopped moving as she spoke. "Mrs. Hart, I'm so glad you came. We all respect your history with this land." "My ownership," Evelyn corrected softly. Marla's smile didn't flinch. "Right. Of course. But records show a transfer years ago. The developers acquired the parcel fair and legal." She turned a glossy binder toward Evelyn, displaying signatures Evelyn had never seen. Evelyn studied the pages, her husband's name scrawled in perfect imitation, dates that didn't align. "That's not Daniel's handwriting," she said. Marla's tone cooled. "Perhaps memory plays tricks after loss." The words landed like a slap. Evelyn closed the binder. "What do you want from me?" "Peace," Marla said, leaning back. "An agreement. The HOA is prepared to offer compensation, generous, given the circumstances." She slid an envelope across the table, its weight insulting. Evelyn didn't touch it. "And the NDA?" Marla blinked. "Standard protection. We wouldn't want confusion spreading through the community." Later that night, Evelyn sat across from Noah Reyes, a young attorney who still believed fairness was possible. He frowned at the papers. "It's fraud, but they'll bury you in appeals. My advice: take the deal, stay quiet, or gather proof." Evelyn met his eyes. "Proof takes time." He hesitated. "Time's the one thing they don't think you have." That made her smile, a small, secret curve of the lips. She signed the agreement the next morning, her pen steady. The community cheered the end of the dispute, never noticing the old woman walking her fields with a camera slung over her shoulder. Each week, she recorded everything: trucks arriving, walls rising, children playing where her husband's corn once grew. She spoke little, watched much. By the time the last roof was nailed, Evelyn had more than memories. She had evidence and patience. 2 years passed like a slow burn. Oak Hollow Estates rose from the soil, rows of identical homes with trimmed hedges and motion lights that blinked all night long. The air smelled of paint and fertilizer, not hay. From her kitchen window, Evelyn watched strangers walk dogs across what used to be her pasture. They waved sometimes, polite and oblivious. She waved back. The letter came on a Thursday. Notice of eviction. It claimed her farmhouse encroached upon HOA-managed property and must be vacated within 30 days. Evelyn read it twice, then folded it neatly and placed it beside her coffee cup. Her reflection in the window looked older, but steadier. When she arrived at the clubhouse, the room glittered with artificial warmth, lemon candles, polished tables, portraits of the first founding residents. Marla Givens stood at the head, the same smile stretched thin over the years. "Mrs. Hart," Marla said, gesturing to a chair. "We've been patient, but this situation has become untenable. You understand, it's nothing personal." Evelyn set a leather folder on the table. "Then you won't mind a little paperwork." Marla frowned. "I beg your pardon." Noah Reyes entered quietly behind her, carrying a stack of copies. His voice was calm, precise. "This is the original deed to the entire tract of land comprising Oak Hollow Estates, recorded in 1989, under Daniel and Evelyn Hart." He opened it carefully, the paper yellow with age. It was never sold, subdivided, or transferred. The room shifted, a murmur, then silence. Marla gave a brittle laugh. "That can't be right. The developers sold what they never owned," Noah interrupted. "Section by section. Plot by plot." His tone grew sharper as he read, the numbers unfolding like a verdict. Evelyn watched faces pale, board members glancing at one another, a builder's jaw tightening, a homeowner whispering, "What does that mean for us?" When Noah finished, he closed the folder and slid it toward Marla. "Every home here," he said softly, "stands on stolen land." The fluorescent lights above flickered once, catching on the gold seal of the deed. Evelyn's hands were still. Marla's voice cracked. "You won't win this, Mrs. Hart." Evelyn rose, gathering her things. "I already have." Outside, the night air was cool. Cameras flashed across her porch the next morning. The courthouse smelled of old wood and camera flash. Rows of reporters waited like vultures, pens twitching as Evelyn Hart took her seat beside Noah Reyes. The world had finally noticed her, not as the quiet widow from the edge of town, but as the woman who had unbuilt a neighborhood. Across the aisle, Marla Givens sat rigid, her once perfect hair limp under fluorescent light. The charges read like scripture: fraudulent transfer, falsified records, conspiracy to defraud. Every word felt heavy, deserved. Yet as Evelyn listened, she felt no triumph, only the strange stillness of something finishing. When the clerk held up the old deed, the paper looked almost fragile. The county seal shimmered gold beneath the lights, just as it had that night in the clubhouse. The courtroom hushed. "This document," the judge said, "predates all subsequent development. Legally, every parcel in Oak Hollow Estates remains the property of Mrs. Evelyn Hart." Marla's composure shattered. "You can't do this," she cried, voice raw. "You'll destroy families. Children live in those houses." Evelyn met her eyes. "You already did," she said quietly. A murmur rippled through the room, pity, fear, awe. Noah touched her sleeve, leaning close. "It's over," he whispered. "You can reclaim it all now. The land, the money, it's yours." Evelyn looked toward the gallery, where dozens of homeowners sat pale and speechless. Their faces weren't cruel, just lost. "No," she said. "Let it go." The next morning, headlines blared, "Widow donates stolen land back to county." Evelyn's statement was brief. She would establish a public trust, the land held for the people, not the profiteers. When she left the courthouse, flashes burst like lightning. Someone shouted her name, but she didn't turn. The deed, now sealed and filed, felt weightless in her bag, just paper at last. Outside, the air was cold, honest. Evelyn lifted her face to it, eyes steady. Justice hadn't brought peace, but it had brought clarity. And for her, that was enough. She walked away as the cameras followed, the past finally behind her.